how we're able to do this is through the University of Dayton. We have partnered with them with their University UDRI, and they have this vast and wonderful array of students that are actually working on Oombaga. I mean, it's like a think tank, mad scientists, young kids, and this is, I mean, it's kind of crazy and it's fun. I mean, needless to say, it's near and dear to my heart. But anyway, Dr. Curran.
Very good. I'm just going to try to answer two questions. Are we going to show a video?
We got a video real quick on this, and
just keep going. My two questions are why the University of Dayton? Who are we? And why are we involved in this? So the University of Dayton was founded in 1850, and you can go on the website and see everything you want to know about the university. We're a research institution. If you look at how children are looking at universities, we're usually ranked 100 national universities. We're relatively small. We're private. We're Catholic. But what we have is a large research institute. And the Research Institute does approximately $100 million a year in research, primarily linked to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So we do a lot of diverse projects. And Kevin Klawon is going to come up in a minute and talk specifically about this project, but we have expertise in sensors. We have expertise in programming. We do fuels, unrelated to you. We do materials. We're #1 in the country in materials research. We're very quiet. We're not out there. We felt we had to come today and tell you some of the things we do. So again, long-term institution, strong research institute. And our research institute is different than a lot of other universities in the sense that it's not our faculty who are doing the research. Most institutions you hear about research, it's in regard to what faculty published. The Research Institute is independent. It's independent. So when we need a team of researchers to look at unmanned vehicles for the Air Force, we develop a team. If we're looking at sensors, we develop a team. If we're looking for safer fuels, we develop a team of professionals supplemented by students, and Kevin's going to talk about this. So, we have the expertise to do this. And again, you can get to our website, you can document it. We've also made the decision that we have to diversify. Okay, I am a university president, and you would think, well, he's a scholar. Well, I'm a businessman. I tell you, when John came with this proposal, I looked at him and said, okay, this is interesting, and then I want to do my due diligence to see if this was feasible. And it does work. We think it's a good investment for the University of Dayton. Now, as I said, we brought on new partners to the University of Dayton. One thing we've done in the past 5 years, we acquired NCR World Headquarters, National Cash Register World Headquarters. That's where our research center is based. We just signed an agreement with GE. GE is building a $50 million lab on our campus. We're reaching out to industry. Okay, August 8th, we'll open up our first center in China, in Suzhou. Who's working with us there? Eli Lilly. GE Aviation, Emerson Climate Control. Okay. We see the future of all universities, not only in the academic component, but reaching out and providing opportunities to do research, creative research, and to bring students into the mix. And Kevin's going to talk about that a little. But again, there's a lot you can find on the web about the University of Dayton. I just wanted to say, one, as a university, we think this is a good project. As a business person, when I look at this, I think it's a great project and a long-term partnership. So Kevin, why don't you come up and comment briefly about what we're doing. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dr. Curran. I appreciate it. Dr. Curran flew in from halfway across the country to be here today to speak for 5-10 minutes. I think that shows the commitment that we have, that the president of the university is going to come here and speak to you guys for 10 minutes. So if you might be out there deciding to say, you got this university research kind of guy, DoD kind of stuff, how does that equate to vacation ownership, right? Why would we possibly look at, I mean, aren't these two different kind of, what, in my terms, domains? I mean, but the reality is, I think it's a very similar domain. You guys have to have, come January, if your owners are trying to come in and pay for maintenance fees, and that system is down, granted, there might not be a loss of life like we have in the DoD space, but you're probably going to want to kill the person who is in charge of that system, right? So, what do? We build systems that don't fail. Because when we fail, we have loss of life. So what do we do to make that happen? We put processes in place to make sure it doesn't happen. We understand high availability, which means and high transactional volumes. We do that today in a domain where if we fail, there's loss of life. Okay? Our process, and again, I think this is important because even though you guys might not be that technical, I think if you can get just the sort of the understanding of the process, you'll see the value in the overall proposition. As I said, we take students. I have a program called Work to School. That's really the heart. It's people, right? People are at the heart of why we succeed. I don't succeed. Dr. Curran doesn't succeed. Our team succeeds. And we can do it in a very cost-effective manner because I take kids, typically right out of, we have one of the top 2-year schools in the country called Sinclair. So I think it's the largest or in the top 10. We take the kids from there and bring them in. They're typically 2-year degree students, and they come into my program within computer science. They work for me full-time and go to school part-time. So instead of taking 2 more years to graduate, they take 4 more years, 5 more years. And why is that important? You guys probably all maybe had a co-op or an intern, right? What's the problem with a co-op or an intern? You don't have that longevity, right? You just finally get the kid up and running, and then he's back to school. With our program, you have guys that are going to be 4 to 6 years on this program. Okay? I work with their schedule, so they go to school, the top priority, go to school, get your degree. I pay for their schooling, I pay them a salary, health insurance, vacations, sick time. They are a University of Dayton employee, but they get to go to school for free. And I work with them, right? So now you say, okay, now I have a great pool of people that I can come from. Again, we're talking the ranges, right? We talk about offshore all the time. I talk about near shore because my institute is right on the shores of the Great Miami River. So I say, no go offshore, go near shore. My rates start out at $45 an hour. That's going to be a kid, 2-year degree, kind of deal. My high-end rate, a 25-year veteran like myself, at about $150 an hour. And remember, we're a $100 million institute. Try to go to IBM and see what kind of rate you're going to get, right? So now we have affordable labor. We can get large amounts of labor. And some of you might be saying, but yeah, Kevin, I get that, but you know, I've seen some young kids before, and sometimes they're kind of rambunctious, cowboyish, you know what I'm saying? How do I get that quality of code? Well, again, we've automated this process, and we call it an agile development process. Now, I know you guys aren't software programmers. Well, there might be some in here, but it's important to understand this. We take these kids, we match them in with somebody like myself and build a team. We all, talk about team. So we have a senior developer with maybe 2 or 3 of these younger kids. But more importantly, in this agile development process, we go through what we call a sprint. So it's every 3 to 5 weeks, we're delivering new functionality. And the way we start that is we find out what kind of functionality do you need. And before we write any type of solution, the first thing we do is we create a test harness. Again, this is important because now, if I have an automated test harness, I can map those into all the requirements, right? So now I know all those things that you think are important, we're testing for it. And we're doing that at the very beginning, not at the end, not through integration testing and all that. We do it from the very beginning. There's a test harness at the very beginning that we build for every kind of feature functionality that you're looking to do. And it's all automated. We push every night, we run the runs, and it says, hey, here are the 20 things that are failing, here are the 5 things that you've actually implemented. Okay? So now you go one step further. So now I got all your tests, and we know that all those features and functionalities are working, but we also do a thing called code coverage. Kind of think about it, you got all this code, and if only tested 90% or 10% of the code and 90% wasn't tested, there's a lot, 90% of that code could fail, right? So we look and say, while we're testing it, we actually keep track of how much of that code actually got tested. We want to be in that high 90 percentile. So now I know all the code actually was tested, and all that code is necessary because it all goes back to a requirement, a feature that you guys are looking to implement, right? But then we go one step further. We have a thing called style checker that we build. We look at the code, the physical style of the code, right? From simple things like indentations to good programming practices, right? So now you know that you got these kids are in a program where all the code looks the same. It has the same look and feel, but we also look for those simple programming practices, or we make sure that they do the good programming practices that you would do in industry. And then I don't stop there, we do the last step, and that is every day I look at all my team, and we have what we call a stand-up. And I'll look at it and say, okay, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? Is there anything that's causing you not to be successful today? So let's say again, let's go back to that kid. I'm right out of school, really don't know anything. I checked in some code yesterday, I'm getting excited, right? Because I'm going to say, hey, I did my first job. We have little cards on the wall, we literally stand up. We stand up with John's team every day, so we through Skype. So you have a kid that said, hey, I did login yesterday. It took me 8 hours. Today I got to do login again. You know why? Because I wrote 500 lines of code all in the same method, and for you programmers out there, you know that that's a bad programming practice, right? And then they can look at me and say, oh, by the way, I can't seem to log in to something else. So now every day, even if you have this young kid, he has direct contact with at least somebody like myself. Now, I'd like to leave you with 2 things. One is an invitation. I'd like to invite all you guys to actually come to Dayton, University of Dayton. You can see my team. You can see our building. You can come in and actually experience a stand-up. You can actually look at, we have a big board called our sprint board where you can actually have cards and you can actually see the process. You can see how we make sure we deliver high-quality code. We do it on time and in budget. I come from industry. I'm not an academic like Dr. Curran. Neither one of us are really academics, even though we're in an academic position. I understand ROI. I understand timelines. I understand the necessity to make sure that when we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it on time and under budget. And the last thing, I know you're quick, but the last thing is this. If I can keep DoD things in a proprietary method, you know, we work with secret, top secret and all that, I might have to bring, a lot of you guys are competitors of one another, and I get that. We know how to keep proprietary things proprietary. We do it all the time. I bring in teams all the time where I have to wear one hat today, and tomorrow I wear your hat. And you know what? When I wear your hat, I understand how to keep your secret sauce secret, and I don't tell you how I got the icing over here. We do it all the time. And we do it for people who have higher, I would believe, probably a higher consequence of problems if we didn't do it in a proprietary and secret way. Does that make sense? I appreciate your time. Again, I hope to see you all come in to the University of Dayton. You see this wonderful north shore of the great Miami River. And with further ado,